CL Integration's Inception Access Control Drivers for Crestron Home. Introduction. In this video, we'll demonstrate how to install and configure the CL Integration's Inception Access Control Driver in Crestron Home. We'll cover preparing your Inception system, configuring the driver in CLI Config, adding and configuring the driver in Crestron Home Setup app, using the access control interface in the Crestron Home, creating user PIN codes with time profiles directly from Crestron Home. To take full advantage of all the features provided by this driver, your Crestron Home processor must be running version 4.008 or later. Preparing your Inception system. Before installing the driver, all doors must be configured in the Inception system with their appropriate reader assignments. It is also important to define garage doors and gates as doors within the Inception system. Assigning individual relay outputs to control garages and gates is not a recommended practice and isn't supported by this driver. It is recommended that you use the words garage and gate when you create those in Inception, as it simplifies the setup process. For garage doors and gates, connect the relay output of the associated Inception door controller to the OSC, or push button input of your garage or gate motor controller, and set the unlock time to 2 seconds. You also need to allocate 2 additional relay outputs in Inception for discrete open and close inputs, if the installed motor supports discrete open and close inputs. Make sure they are set to user controllable in Inception and have been added to the permission group that is tied to the Crestron user. Crestron Home automatically creates open all and close all scenes for garages and gates, which needs to be managed properly, otherwise they will cause unintended operation. If discrete outputs are configured and connected to the motor, the open all and close all scenes in Crestron Home app will utilize those discrete controls. Garages and gates configured without discrete controls will be excluded from open all and close all scenes in Crestron Home automatically. We will show you this later in the video. You need to create a user for Crestron Home in Inception, set the web page profile as installer, and provide it with all the permission it requires, such as doors, areas, and relay outputs. This user needs door state override, lockout, entry, and exit permissions. Username must be all lowercase. This ensures the driver can automatically discover and import all access control objects into Crestron Home. The integration user does not necessarily need a PIN code for the access control driver. However, if you also plan to use our security driver, you must define a PIN code here, as it will be used to arm and disarm the security system through the security driver. We strongly recommend updating your Inception system to the latest firmware before connecting it to CLI Config. Older versions may prevent certain features from working correctly. Set up the driver instance in CLI Config. Open CLI Config and click New Configuration. Select Crestron Inception Configuration, then click Next. Enter the IP address of your Inception controller, along with the username and password you created earlier for the Crestron integration. Once you've entered the details, click Finish. The first time you connect to a system with CLI Config, you may see a notification from Windows Security. Click Allow. The PC running CLI Config must be on the same LAN as your Inception and Crestron Home processor at the time of configuration. CLI Config will now securely connect to your Inception controller and automatically import its configuration. This includes your credential templates, areas, doors, inputs, and outputs. There are a few additional settings we'll configure to ensure the best integration experience with Crestron Home. Click on Doors. For each door, as you can see, CLI Config will show you if a read switch has been defined in Inception. Having a read switch allows Crestron Home to display the door's open or closed status, in addition to its locked or unlocked state. We'll see how this appears in Crestron Home later in the video. You can also see that CLI Config has selected the correct type for garages and gates based on the names you have defined previously in Inception. If your doors have access keypads and you'd like to create and manage user PIN codes directly from the Crestron Home app, you'll need to assign the appropriate credential template to each door, garage, or gate. To do this, double-click on the relevant door in CLI Config, then choose the corresponding Inception credential template from the drop-down list. This links the door to the correct credential template in Inception, allowing Crestron Home to create and manage user access codes for that door. Select Security PIN if you are using inner range cipher keypads or other keypads like HID that send the entered PIN as a security PIN to Inception. or select Weekend if you have installed a Weekend keypad. In our example, the front entry door has a Weekend keypad connected to it. So, from the credential template drop-down list, we'll select Weekend and then click Apply to save the change. There are a few additional settings you'll need to configure for garages and gates. Double-click on the garage or gate to specify how the motor is connected to the Inception system. Select whether the motor is controlled using OSC only or OSC with discrete open and close inputs. Next, enter the travel time. This is the approximate time it takes for the garage door or gate to travel from fully closed to fully open, or from fully open to fully closed. Finally, if your garage or gate has discrete control inputs connected to Inception, use the drop-down list to assign the discrete open-close outputs. In our demo, both Garage East and Gate East have reed switches assigned and have been wired with discrete controls. Garage West and Gate West are OSC only, but we'd like to change the travel time. Connection to CL integrations, licensing, and side-loading driver. Once you've finished configuring your doors, garages, and gates, you're ready to install the driver onto your Crestron Home system. On the configuration section, you can see a summary of objects configured, the IP address of the PC running CLI Config, and the communication port used. Now you need to connect your CLI Config to CL Integrations Cloud. Click on the license section. You'll see that the software is currently not connected to your CL Integrations account. Ensure you are logged into your CL Integrations account, then click Connect to establish a connection. Verify that the computer name is correct, then click Authorize. Back on the Licenses tab, you'll see that the connection has now been established. You can also see the serial number of the Inception panel and its IP address and driver license status. You can test the driver in trial mode for 60 minutes. It then goes offline if you don't assign a license. You can reset your trial period by rebooting your Crestron Home processor. If you've already purchased a license, you need to assign it before loading the driver in Crestron Home. To do this, click Assign License. A window will appear asking you which type of license you'd like to assign to this configuration. The window will also display how many compatible licenses with this configuration are available on your account. Select Access, Security, or both, depending on what you need, and click Assign. CLI Config will show you the licenses you have assigned to this configuration. This information is also available on the Licenses tab on your CL Integrations account. You can also revoke licenses and reassign them to a different configuration if you need. Revoking license from a driver that's already been loaded into Crestron Home will cause the driver to go offline. Please note that Inception licenses are tied to the Inception controller's serial number, not to the Crestron Home processor's MAC address. This means that if you replace or upgrade your Crestron Home processor, your license will continue to work without needing to be transferred, provided it's connected to the same Inception controller. Open the Crestron Home Setup app, browse to the driver section, select Platform, select CL Integrations, and download the driver directly from the online driver library. At time of watching this video, if you are unable to find the driver in the Setup app, you can sideload it is using CLI Config. Click Sideload Driver on the Configuration section. Enter your Crestron Home IP, username, and password and choose drivers you'd like to sideload, then click Sideload. CLI Config will now upload and install the latest version of selected driver onto your Crestron Home processor automatically. We recommend you save the configuration you created in CLI Config and store for future reference. The computer running CLI Config does not need to remain on-site, as it is only required during the setup process and while you are adding the driver to Crestron Home. Add the driver to Crestron Home. Open the Crestron Home Setup app. Add the driver to a room in Crestron Home. Give the driver a name. Enter the IP address of the PC running CLI Config. Click Next. CLI Config will now send your configuration to Crestron Home. Leave the remote config port as default and click Next. Installation settings will show you a summary of what has been imported. Click Next to apply the configuration. Go to Manage Platforms and add the discovered object to the rooms in Crestron Home as you wish. Access control in the Crestron Home app. Now let's look at the Crestron Home user app. A native access control tile has appeared on the home page that has separated the locks from garage doors and gates. Driver has been tested and optimized on a large system with 24 doors to ensure reliability and responsiveness. Crestron Home by default will play a sound when you lock or unlock a door. This is recommended to be disabled in the interrupt section of each door. Crestron Home automatically creates lock all and unlock all for all the locks and open all and close all for all garage doors and gates. Doors defined with reed switches in Inception will display open-close status in addition to locked-unlocked state. Doors without a reed switch will only show lock and unlock status. Our front entry door includes a reed switch, allowing Crestron Home to display both lock state and door status. Garages and gates will show open or closed status by default, even if you haven't defined a reed switch for them. This is a Crestron Home limitation. Garages and gates without reed switches will always show closed. In our demo, Garage West and Gate West don't have a reed switch and will be showing closed all the time. Earlier in CLI Config, we defined Garage East and Gate East as discrete motors and Garage West and Gate West as OSC motors. As you can see, the driver has automatically excluded the OSC garages and gates from the open all and close all scenes. With OSC motors, the driver cannot reliably determine the motor's last direction of travel. As a result, sending a close all command could potentially open a garage or gate instead, which would pose a security risk. User access management in Crestron Home app. Let's look at additional access control features of our driver. Tap on the Smart Access icon on the top left, tap on a door, and click on the setting icon on the top right. Here you can put this door in privacy mode, which will disable control of this lock for all users in the app. In privacy mode, the app ignores the taps on the door that is in privacy mode for all users. Here you can also set an auto relock time, which will automatically lock the door after the specified timeout every time you unlock this door. One of the most powerful features of our driver is the ability to create access codes directly from the Crestron Home app. To create a user, go back to the Smart Access menu. Tap on Create New User icon. In this example, we will create 3 test users. We'll create a Test 1 user with permanent access to the front entry door. Pin in an access code and tap Add Access. Now we'll create a Test 2 user with recurring access to the front entry door for Thursday and Friday between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Finally, we'll create a Test 3 user with temporary access to the front entry door. Back in Inception, we can see 3 users have been created. Test 1 has a permanent access to the front entry door. The PIN we chose has also been entered for you. Test 2 has recurring access with time profiles. Test 3 was a temporary user, and we can see that it has an expiry date. If a user has been removed from the Crestron Home app, the driver will also remove all traces of it from Inception. If you need to temporarily disable a user without deleting them, you can do this in Crestron Home app, and the driver will do the same in Inception for you. Thank you for watching this tutorial on the CL Integrations Inception Access Control Driver for Crestron Home.